Okay, good afternoon. I'm told you guys are all set. I'm back, so thank you. I'm here to announce a case that we're working on. It's still active, and we decided to kind of go public with it because we're looking for an individual, and so far we have not found him. I'm confident we will, but the fact that he has probably at this point known that we're looking for him and hasn't turned himself in is a good reason for us to let the public know that this is a person we're looking for. So I'll back up and give you the facts of the case. So there was a graduation that was held at UWM, United Wholesale Mortgage, on their property. They're a great corporate citizen, and they do a variety of events on their property, including let the community have access to it for different kinds of things, including, in this situation, a graduation. It was a graduation for a school, charter school in the city of Pontiac. And at this graduation, there was a fight that broke out. And we got dispatched to a fight at 1840, which is 6:40 p.m. That was on, what date? Thursday? The third, rather. It was on the 3rd at, as I said, about 6:40 p.m. And it was dispatched for a fight. And our deputies arrived and began to gain some information from United Wholesale security team, which do a very good job on lots of levels with their facility, also with their professionalism, and with their interaction and participation as a partner with our agency. So they began to share information about what they saw, what they had been viewing on their camera systems. And as we delved deeper into it, it wasn't as simple as a fight that had been broken up and people pushed out into the parking lot that were combatants. We gained further information on scene that individuals that we had seen at this situation had been identified, and at that point, again, it was a fight, and that's all we had, and no one was wanting to press charges for assault. But it was more than that, clearly, as we learned later. A person approached our deputies and gave them information that a family member had told them that they had seen on Snapchat a threat to shoot up this graduation ceremony, this graduation. And so that information was relayed to our folks on scene, and then in partnership with the security, they began to look and dig a bit deeper, identified individuals that were part of this fight, and then began to figure out and backcheck where they were, where they went, and what they did, determined that they had been seen putting packages under cars in the parking lot, and ultimately left the scene, and those packages were still there. So in cooperation with the security, our folks began to, as I said, investigate further, and ultimately determined that those packages were weapons that they had brought to this situation. And when you combine that with the post that had been seen that someone planned to shoot up this graduation, in our business we call that a clue. Now you've got weapons at the scene, a post that talked about a shooting of this particular event, and weapons recovered at the event fully loaded with high capacity magazines. Each weapon had a 40-round magazine, and they had one in the chamber and loaded magazines. One was a Glock handgun, and one was a kind of an off-brand. I forget the name of it, but we'll show you in any event. So we actually have the weapons here. We're not touching them because they're evidence on lots of levels and still have some tests that are going to be done. But my first thing that I want to point out is because of great cooperation with UWM security and our deputies, not just leaving it at face value of a simple assault fight, a high school beef, if you will, that they went deeper and found these weapons and found what really was undercurrent going on. And I believe probably prevented a mass shooting when you consider the weapons that were there, the individuals that were involved who have a history of being involved with weapons and violence. One is on probation for a weapons offense. That's the one we're looking for right now, right? Is on probation for a weapons offense. So they both have criminal justice involvement in the past involving weapons, and so these weren't brought to be simple accessories. And the other thing I'd like to say is we talk about criminal justice reform, and I'm really good with criminal justice reform when we're talking about nonviolent offenders. But when you have individuals that carry and use guns illegally, I believe they need to be seriously charged, prosecuted, and held accountable, because a very small number of people do a large number of violent crimes. And so we can divert people that are nonviolent out of the system, but when we catch people that are violent, they need to be held accountable. Time and time again, I've stood at this podium and talked about people that had shown themselves to be violent, and they were back on the street and committed violence, including individuals that murdered our deputy last June. So the system needs to understand that and needs to work in those parameters, in my opinion. So the individual weapons involved, on the screen you will see it actually is an AR-style pistol, and above the pink AR-style pistol you can see a round drum. That's a magazine, a 40-round magazine. That was loaded with the magazine in it when it was recovered.
Was that in someone's car or underneath it?
One of our suspects was carrying this, and when we were pulling in the parking lot, they put it under a car.
Which suspect was that?
We're not going to get deep into that. Both of our suspects had a weapon. So the primary reason we're doing it now rather than after arraignment is we have one suspect we're still looking for. Typically, we only identify suspects after they're charged and arraigned, but sometimes we do identify people when we're looking for them, and we're concerned they may either be a flight risk or danger to others. So I believe that's potentially in play here. So we'll get into the individual we're looking for. This is the other weapon, which is a Glock semi-automatic handgun. Again, a 40-round stick magazine on this. It was loaded at the time of recovery. So just those two weapons, without changing magazines, had 80 rounds of potential firepower. Shooting into a graduation, you can only imagine the outcome of that. Now, the one thing I would say, time and time again, because we've been here tragically, whether it's Oxford or other situations, after almost all the shootings you see either here or around the country, someone after will say, yeah, he said this, or I saw that, or I read a post. Share information, share information, share information. If you see something, say something. Someone saw that post and we didn't hear about it until after we had arrived on the scene, and it's only because we were there and something already had started. That kind of post, even anonymously, you can report through OK to Say or any methodology to let us have extra presence and know what we're looking for potentially in advance of it starting to happen. Now, thankfully, this got interrupted, and then because of the diligence of both security and our deputies, prevented. But we don't rely on luck in our world. So that's the other thing I'd like to say about this. The individual that we're looking for is currently on probation, is up on the screen now. Anyone that sees this individual, we urge them to call 911 and let us know where this person is. Do not attempt to apprehend or approach, but simply call 911. We'd like to obviously have a discussion with this individual, and we are working as we stand here speaking with the prosecutor's office to get as much in terms of charges on the individuals involved as possible, and look forward to hearing, you can look forward to hearing from our prosecutor on that as this moves forward. But the primary purpose at this point is to catch this individual and have him off the street while this case continues to be investigated and moves forward. Questions?
Did they have any connection to the Pontiac school that was holding the graduation?
Friends and relatives. They were not students in the class, but friends and relatives, and apparently ongoing disputes with individuals in the community.
Can you tell us any more about the other suspect, similar age or anything else?
The other suspect, I believe, is 19. Yes.
Can you tell us which school?
Was the graduation? ATAP?
ATAP, charter school.
How do you spell that?
ATAP.
Oh, gotcha. Did they go to this school when they were younger?
I don't believe so. I don't know that for a fact.
As far as a motive, just dispute? Or?
You know, so many people are quick to violence these days, and you know, for whatever reason, they think this is the solution, whether it's to go shoot up a school or house of worship. It's hard to figure out what a motive is these days, but our job is to try to get in front of it before it happens, and thankfully that happened here.
So to clarify, the 19-year-old is in custody, and then also is he being cooperative?
The 19-year-old is in custody, and that's the most we'll say at this point until he's formally charged.
Do you know when those charges will come?
I don't. It's still, you know, actively happening as I said, as we talk. We're with the prosecutor and talking to them right now.
Were these two men involved in the fight that you were called for, or did you just find out
Yes.
about it because of the fight?
Yes.
Sheriff, what do you say to Mr. Hardiman if he's watching, or anybody that knows where he is?
If he's watching, turn yourself in. One way or another, we're going to get you. Make it easier on yourself and the community. If someone else knows where he is, please drop us a dime. They can call 911. They can do it anonymously. It just needs to happen.
And what was the case that he was on probation for?
A weapons case. Yep.
In Oakland County, or
Yes.
Do we know what the Snapchat said by chance?
It's already been taken down, so we're still trying to work that avenue. If anyone else saw it and can identify, you know, the specific verbiage, but the witnesses said it was something along the lines of it was going to shoot up the crowd.
There's been a lot of incidents lately of guns being found like in and around school grounds, the daycare incident. What's going on? Is there like an increase in these incidents? Are we just reporting these incidents more often? Any, perspective on that?
Well, I think, you know, people have interpersonal disputes, and instead of, you know, talking them out or figuring them out, or back even the old days having a fist fight over it, it escalates to weapons. And sometimes pre-positioned weapons, sometimes, you know, a fight happens and then they call someone else to bring weapons, but it nonetheless has typically nothing to do with the event and everything to do with some kind of dispute, some kind of disrespect, some kind of anger, and then they move it to the next level, which involves weapons. You know, we saw that, it's a state fair. Had nothing to do with the state fair last year. Very good, very safe venue, but just outside of it, people that had disputes, you know, they carried it into a violent fashion. And I can't tell you why it's happening more, but people seem to be much quicker to violence and quicker to locate weapons, and sometimes it's not even a handgun. I mean, look at the individual that came to throw Molotov cocktails at people in Colorado. It's just crazy.
Are these both Pontiac's residents?
Yes.
Was the 19-year-old arrested at the graduation, or did you find him after?
After.
How many guns were confiscated from the scene?
The two I showed.
Not including those packages or the packages under the cars?
That's
That's okay.
yeah. In that one picture with the backpack, that was the package, and that was what was in it.
Were they wrapped in something, or were the guns just under the cars?
Well, the one was in this backpack, and the other was just under the car.
The other people involved in the disputes, are they cooperating with this investigation at all?
No. And that's one of our other frustrations is lots of times when you have interpersonal disputes, you get an escalation of violence and a back and forth. And they're non-cooperative with us because they intend to exact their own measure of whatever they consider justice. And you'll see it, a start and an escalation. And again, a very small number of people are responsible for the backs and forth. And oftentimes innocent people that just happen to be in the area are victims of that violence. And that's why, again, people that are caught carrying and using a gun illegally need to have very serious understanding they're going to go away, in my opinion. Otherwise, this room potentially would be filled with national press again about a mass shooting. And thankfully, that's not what happened. But it could have very easily been the case.
Sheriff, that phone call came out to you guys as what?
A fight, physical fight.
What alarms you the most about this?
How close it was potentially to being another mass shooting.
Wayne County is going to monitor social media to kind of look for these beefs before they start. Is that something you're thinking about doing here?
Well, there's different programs you can, but on that point, there's a lot of push on the federal level to restrict access to law enforcement to social media information, even publicly facing information, which I think is a dangerous move. I mean, if the public can see some threat or something concerning, why should we not be allowed to do that? It's called scraping, and there's the ability to do that, and it has helped us in the past.
Did graduation actually take place, or was this a graduation party?
It's a graduation itself.
Was it canceled?
The ceremony? No, it was there. It was held. And, well, kind of during, after it finished, and then, everyone went home.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Yep. We have the actual weapons in the magazines, too, if you want to get a little closer look. Can't touch it, any of it, because, again, it's still being processed evidentiary-wise. But
Can we get pictures of it?
yep.